Welcome to the Uncensored Self Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Gillen, and this is a space where women who value achievement, success, accomplishment, and wealth, but also crave happiness, love, joy, and deep fulfillment come to remember that we get to have both. Not by doing more, but by being more of who we truly are. In this show, we explore identity, energy, alignment, and embodiment because you didn't come here to follow someone else's rules. You came to right your own. Let's dive in. 5 weeks ago, I asked you a question. Is this it? Not dramatic way, not in a crisis way, just that quiet, exhausted thought that shows up somewhere between the coffee and the first meeting. When life looks right from the outside, but something still feels fundamentally off. That was where we started. And what I told you then is what I want you to really hear today. That feeling, it is not a motivation problem. It is not burnout. It is not the wrong strategy or the wrong business or the wrong relationship. It is misidentification. And it has been the thread running through every single episode of this series. I'm Ryan Gillen. This is the Uncensored Self, and this is week 5, the last one, and I'm going to land this plane for you today. I named it for you in week 1 of the series, the identity crisis that nobody is talking about, right? Misidentification, the idea that so many high achieving women aren't actually burned out in the medical sense, right? Not necessarily lacking discipline in the way that getting things done, not necessarily in the wrong business or the wrong career. It's simply running the wrong program, an identity that's not actually yours, right? So it's this idea that the things that you are doing are because you have to, because you should, because people depend on you, because this is what we do to make money, because this is the degree that I have, or these are the options that are available to me. If you are running on that program, again, you're probably beating yourself up for it. I know I sure as hell was, and so many of my clients do. But the only thing that has actually gone wrong, and y'all know I don't like the word wrong, is just that you are aligned with an identity that you didn't choose. You are aligned with an identity that you didn't consciously know that you can influence, right? And then in week 2, we went on to talk about the cost. And I shared all of my costs, right? The external cost of continuing to operate out of alignment is what I'm going to call it, out of integrity with your soul, with your higher self, with the part of you that is calling you to something different, right? We talked about the internal cost. We talked about the identity cost. And most importantly, the opportunity cost, the life that you're not living because you get out of bed every single day and you follow somebody else's plan. You follow somebody else's rules. You follow a decision you made 20 years ago because you still feel like you have no other options. You're right. All of those years spent building really well, and they led you to a place that doesn't feel like you. What I say here is that this is the foundation that isn't yours. The foundation that your life is built on was merely influenced by the outside world. It has very little of your heart, your soul, your interests, your desires in it, right? And then in week 3, I asked you what might be the hardest question, right? Who are you without the roles? If we strip away the provider, the reliable one, the problem solver, the strong one, the responsible one, the one who gets everything done, who is underneath all of that? Who is underneath all of that? And it breaks my heart that so many of us don't know the answer to that question. Actually, what's really cool is I can't even say that I don't know the answer to that question anymore. I do fucking know the answer to that question. And I will tell you, she is wildly different than the roles that I was playing at her core, right? What I actually found is the goals, the drive, the big dreams that I have, those have always been inside of theirs. I just only had one picture, one lens of which to bring that to life. And that was really misaligned for me, right? And underneath all of that, there's a woman waiting for you. And I know that you know that because you're here. And she's been in there the whole time. I think, again, a lot of people get stuck in identity work that you have to become somebody new. And I pointed out to you that it's really more of remembering who the fuck you are, remembering those things that used to set your soul on fire when the stakes didn't feel so high, remembering who you were before everybody depended on you for an answer or for a solution or to take care of them. Remembering who you were before you hitched yourself to that wagon or got into that room or took feedback from that one person. Who are you without all the noise? And I believe in my heart of hearts that you know that, right? And last week, we talked about what do you actually want? Not the goal list, not the metrics, the actual thing. And we talked about why most women say they don't know what they want, when the truth is you do know exactly what you fucking want. You just don't see how you can have it when you have all these other responsibilities, when you have all these other things you need to do. So you stop admitting the things that you want. And I think that you do know. And I said that in that episode, and I'll say that to you again. I think you know, you've always known what you wanted. You just can't see a way that that thing that you want gives you the life that you want. want. So you put down the thing that you want and you go after the life that you want. And again, there's static in the signal. And what I want to say before I continue moving forward is none of this is inherently bad. None of you are living bad lives. None of you are bad people. None of you are fucking it up or doing it wrong. You're just not living to your greatest potential. You're not living at the level of joy and possibility and magic that is available to you. You can continue on this path. No one is going to die. Nothing terrible is going to happen. You're just going to continue to have that low grade dissatisfaction underneath of you. And unfortunately, that does wind up showing up in actual burnout, in actual disease in a lot of ways, right? The number of diseases that women have that are shown over and over and over again to come from stress. And I believe that stress is coming from operating outside of your true identity, outside of your true frequency for way too long. That dissonance is the stress, and that stress is causing disease. This is all of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, right? But every single time and every single episode of this series, we came back to the same thing. The ceiling is not out there. The ceiling that you have given yourself. It is not the market. It is not the economy. It is not the algorithm. It is not the circumstances. It is not your husband. It is not your career. It is not your bank account. It is not your parents. It is the fact that the operating system running underneath everything that you do isn't optimized, right? If you have an operating system and you're running on an old operating system, for lack of a better word, right? You're running on an old operating system under every single thing that you do. It's just a little outdated. And it's funny, as I'm recording this, like there's literally on my Mac, it says upgrade to Mac OS Tahoe, discover new features, right? It's telling me to upgrade my operating system. Your machine isn't running at 100% because your operating system isn't updated. That is all that you are experiencing. And this is what the 5 weeks of work has been building towards, right? Every single episode. I believe in my heart of hearts that you get to have it all. We get to have it all. I get to have it all. You get to have a relationship that is hot and spicy and sexy and fun if that's what you want. You get to have more money than you know what to fucking do with if that's what you want. You get to wake up every morning excited about the work that you do if that's what you want. You get to spend as much time or as little time with your family if that's what you want. If you want a big, wild, adventurous life, you can have it. If you want a quiet, peaceful life outside of, the public eye, you get to have it. If you want to have a killer body that looks hotter than it does in your 40s and 50s than it did in your 20s, you can have it. If you want deep soul friendships where you get to have really incredible conversations, you can fucking have it. And it's not someday, not when you figure out how you're going to have time for all of those things, not when things calm down now. But here is the thing. You get to have it all only when you stop believing that you have to choose. When you stop believing that you have to choose between your great big dreams and a life that you're obsessed with. When you think you have to choose between money and fulfillment. When you think you have to choose between practicality and safety instead of fun and excitement and adventure. When you stop believing that those things are opposites, right? Ambition and alignment, they're not opposites. That is just a lie that we were told that keeps us trapped in a system that does not serve us. You do not have to choose between building something big and being really fucking present with your family. You do not have to choose between making a fuck ton of money and doing the work that sets your soul on fire, between success and joy. What is one without the other? Are you even successful if you don't experience joy? Honestly, can you consider yourself successful if you're not experiencing joy? Some people might, just based purely on your job title and the house you live in and the car you drive and the money in your bank account, but I don't think you do, or you wouldn't still be listening. The only thing that makes these things feel like opposites is the identity that you're operating from. You're playing the mind game and you are operating from the identity that you inherited. A woman operating from a borrowed identity will always feel like she is sacrificing one for the other, sacrificing what she has to do for what she wants to do, sacrificing what needs to be done for what she wants to do. A woman operating from her true identity as the creator of her fucking reality does not experience that tension. And I want to correct. It's not that she never experiences that tension. That tension is less and less frequent. I do still experience that tension in some ways, but it feels wildly different than it did before. It used to feel like a weight, right? Like I can get back in my body with it. It felt like I was carrying a backpack full of rocks, and people just kept putting more and more rocks on the backpack. And then the climb kept getting steeper and steeper and steeper, right? That's the tension that I was feeling. Every step I took felt heavier. I was taking on more and more and more stuff. I'm more and more alone at every step. That's the tension that I experienced then. The tension that I experience now is still a little bit in the reprogramming. I'm still in the reprogramming, but it's more in this like stretchy, expansive way, that way where I always use the example of jumping out of an airplane, which is funny because I've never jumped out of one and I don't know if I really want to, but the idea of like, you're standing at the edge of the plane and you're terrified and you're like, why the fuck am I doing this? But you're the one that paid to get in the plane and have it fly you up there and have somebody jump out with you if you've never jumped before, right? Like that's the kind of tension where you're like, am I fucking crazy? And the answer is yes, you're fucking crazy, but this is the crazy that you chose, right? So sometimes alignment still has that, are you fucking crazy feeling to it? But it's crazy that you chose. It's challenges that you chose. It's excitement that you chose. It's heart that you chose, right? And what I really want to point out to you is the woman who gets to have it all, she's not actually smarter. She's certainly not smarter than you. She's not luckier. She is not more disciplined. She is merely operating from a different set of beliefs, a different identity. That is the only. And the reason why that is the best fucking news you've heard all day is because identity is something that can change. It's the whole point of this work. You get to choose how you show up in the world. You get to choose who you want to be. You get to choose who you are and how you see yourself. Okay. And I'll tell you, I'm going to kind of take you back a little bit so I can anchor this in for you. When I first learned about intentional reality creation, I'm very honest about this in the world, right? And universal law, when I met my mentor and really got into this work, it really was just a way to create more things. I was just in a tough spot in my life financially, and I just wanted to create more money. I tried to skip this piece, the identity piece. I didn't want this because, again, the identity, the inherited, borrowed identity that I was operating from, she was an arrogant little bitch. I just want to be real clear. She didn't think she needed a space. I know who I am. I know what I want. I'm a confident woman. I am a woman. Hear me roar. I don't need no man. I don't need no help. And if you're not going to make it easier, get the fuck out of my way. I got this. And I thought that was I thought that's just who I was. That's what I talked about, last week. I thought I was just the bitch. But when I was playing that role, I just was like, I just need to get the money. Like the identity piece, I'm good. The identity piece is fine. I'm fine. Just help me, with more stuff. Just help me with more stuff. I just need more stuff. And once I get the money, I'll solve all the problems, right? That is the trap most people fall into. Obviously, I fell into it. Many of my clients are in it, right? You learn the energy game. And you immediately use it to get things to happen faster because, of course, you want it to happen faster because right now there's that tension that I just experienced. You are carrying a backpack full of rocks uphill and it's getting heavier, not lighter. So, of course, just please take away the backpack full of rocks as quickly as possible. But when you really, truly learn to play the energy game, you realize that it is not your job to make things happen. You allow them to unfold. And that is wildly uncomfortable for a woman whose strength, worthiness, value is in her ability to fucking get shit done. Like, talk about a punch to the gut, guys. It was a total shift for me. My whole identity was built on being the bitch who could get things done and happened to be good at making money because she was just fucking tenacious enough, right, to not give up. She had just enough shamelessness to not give a fuck. Okay? That's who I was. And like I said, I've said this in every episode, the hardest part of this is that it works. It works. It works in building a life that isn't fucking yours. Okay? So the way that you know that you are trying to make something happen, that you're thinking too logically, that you're playing the mind game, that you're operating from the old identity, that you're operating from the old belief system, is that you are hung up in two things, the how and the when. Ding, 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 ding. There are all sorts of bells and whistles going off in your head right now because you love the concepts that I talk about. That's why you come here and listen to the podcast, right? You love the idea of being the creator of your reality. You love the idea of being able to be, do, and have whatever you want. You love the idea of choosing to show up exactly how you want to. And then immediately your brain goes into, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do that. And when is somebody going to take this backpack full of rocks away from me, right? You have the desire. I know that. Whether you're willing to admit it or not, that's on you. But you have the desire. You can see where you want to go. And then you instantly go into, but I don't know how to get there. How the fuck am I going to make this happen? My schedule's already full. My life is already full. What are all the steps between here and there? Do I know how to do them? Do I have the time to do them? Do I have the resources to do them? Do I have the money to do them? Do I have the energy to do them? And that is where you get into that thought loop and that spiral, and the whole thing stalls. And you just stop. Because the only way you can see to get what you want is for you to make it happen, and you don't have the capacity to make it happen. Therefore, I can't have what I want. So what I want to do is I want to tell you a couple of stories about my clients, very specifically allowing things to happen in their life, So I have a client who wants a pool in her backyard. right? There was a pool last year. It was last fall, I think, that we were talking about it. And she had this beautiful vision of these updates she wanted to make to her home actually, it's kind of funny. When we first started working together, she wanted a new home. And then again, through a little bit of massaging and the energy work and playing around to it, she's like, no, I actually really love it here. But what I need is a pool, and I need to make these changes to this house to make this house exactly what I want, which I love, right? Again, I don't always coach my clients to leave. Sometimes I coach my clients to stay, right? But here's where the hiccup was in her plan. There was a tree that needed to come out first in order to be able to build that pool. And it was expensive and it was time consuming. And her husband both have busy, full lives, right? She had played with the vision on Pinterest. She has a, Pinterest board. She got excited. She got too far into the how. There came an obstacle. We got to remove the tree. The tree is expensive. And then she kind of just put it down. It was going into the holiday seasons. Life started lifing. So, but let me tell you what happened to this pool. 6 months later, maybe not even 6 months later at this point, a winter storm comes through. And what do you know? Takes down the tree. And now insurance is going to take that tree down. Her husband is actually now talking about moving forward with the pool and the updates she wanted with her house. She hadn't thought about it in months. She didn't have a budget for it. She just played with the energy of it and let it go. That is not coincidence. That is energy work. That is energy work, working exactly the way that it's supposed to. She set a clear intention. This is what I want. She hit one snag and she said, I'm going to put it down for right now. She wasn't worried about the house. She wasn't worried about the wind. She was worried about the vision. She went to work on something else, and bada bing, bada boom, fucking divine intervention. The tree is coming down and she's going to get her pool. She didn't make that happen. She couldn't have scripted that if she wanted to. She couldn't have 5-stepped that, blueprinted that, put that together. She couldn't have done it. She couldn't have, right? So I have another client in business therapy. And actually, this client went through business therapy twice. So in case you wonder if business therapy is a good investment, I have so many people that are willing to invest in it. Twice. She'd been through business therapy twice. And last year, the first time she went through business therapy, which is 2025, she really wanted to pursue something outside of real estate. She's a realtor. You guys know about 70% of my business is realtors, right? And she wanted to pursue something outside of real estate. And so she put real estate on the back burner. She's like, what I want to do, and it was why she joined business therapy. She's like, I'm available for referrals. I'm available for friends and family, but I'm not actively going to do the things, work the steps, market the business, right? I'm going to go work on this other project. It's also generating income and go see what happens, right? Do you want to know what happened to this client in 2025? It was the best year she'd ever had in real estate. It was the best year she ever had in real estate. Why? What did she do? What did she do? She got clear on an intention. This is what I want. My real estate business. Here's who I want to work with. And then she went and she got creative and she started playing and she started building and she was aware of the world of possibilities. And what if this doesn't look the way? And God brought her all the clients, the best year. She stopped white knuckling it, figuring it out, strategizing it, and it moved without her forcing it, right? I have another client who is surviving and thriving in cancer right now. She is somebody who has a very big business, and a very big fear she had early on in her business was that if I don't have the energy to work the business because I'm going through cancer treatment, what is going to happen to the business? And what I have been coaching her on every single week since we had that conversation is just focusing on being healthy. Focus on being healthy. Focus on feeling good. Focus on being healthy. Be the best version of yourself. How do you take care of yourself? How do you show up in this way, right? She hasn't been working the business. She's been working a business, I would say at best 30% of the capacity that she was previously, right? Than she thought she needed to, how she was showing up in it every single day. Her business financially has not been impacted. In fact, it has continued to grow. Why is that? She's not working the business. It's just because of who she was. She set a clear intention and she started creating and taking care of herself and feeling good and doing something that lights her up, which is building another social media platform around cancer survival, right? Showing up as herself, clear signal, no performance, no forcing. The business phones itself in, right? Another client, let me tell you another story. Again, wildly successful, another realtor, has a big team and has a retirement plan. You know, she even already owns the house on the beach, but she hasn't figured out how she's going to retire to that house on the beach, meaning her time is spent there instead of in her primary home, right? Really stuck in the how and the when. She's got the puzzle pieces on the board, but like, how am I going to make this happen? And how long is it going to take? Are the two questions she was asking herself, right? We got into identity work together. She's actually in a program called Identity Shift, which comes after the identity reset. But we played with the vision. And in just a couple of just a couple of weeks, guys, we've been working together for a few weeks. It's like the whole world is tilted on its axis. She's experiencing everything wildly different. Like she can feel where she's going. She stopped needing to know the how. She's not obsessing over the details. She's seeing the synchronicities, things moving, this natural excitement's returning. She won a fucking boatload of money at the casino, right? This is what happens when you stop managing the how and start living from the identity of the woman who already has it, because she knows she's the one creating it. This is what happens when you stop managing the how. Like I said, we get hung up in the identity work because we can't see the how and the when. And so we keep performing on this old operating system. And the longer we run on that old outdated system, the worse that it feels and the worse it performs. Here's something I want to tell you. I'm going to get a little esoteric on you for a minute. And this is, again, a piece that I think I missed. I've not really talked a lot about my relationship with God and the church, but I think I had a more complicated relationship with a higher power than I thought that I did, if I'm really honest. But what I've realized, I think honestly, probably for me in the last 8-9 months, is that you're not creating alone. So this idea of like, I create my reality means like the weight of the world is on my shoulder and I'm responsible for this. For some of us, that doesn't feel good, right? We're like, fuck, I'm already responsible. And I'm responsible for this shit too. But it's a co-creation, right? It's a co-creation. So whether it is God, source, the universe, whatever higher power you believe in, quantum field, if you want to get into the set, all the different things, it's working with you. It's working with you. One of my favorite thoughts to think is God always says yes. God always says yes. God always says yes. But what is God saying yes to? For many of us, God is saying yes to the old identity, to the old operating system, to the old limitations, to the old beliefs, to the old patterns, programs, right? And what I love about this work, the way that it really started to transform for me, is you can find this in the Bible if that's your jam. You can find it in quantum physics. You can find it in more New Age spirituality. You can find it in Eastern culture and yoga and things like that. The data is everywhere if you look for it. I love the meme that says that, Christians call it prayer. Spiritualists call it manifestation. Atheists call it the placebo effect. There's a few more. Witches call it spells. There's a few more on that list, but nobody's arguing over that it exists. It's just the fact that it does, right? We're arguing over what it's called, but nobody's arguing over the fact that this higher power that is at play here exists. And for me, the way that I see that higher power is God, and my soul works with God. My soul is an extension of God, right? We are all one. The law of divine oneness. Again, biblical, universal law, science, it all says we are all one. We are all piece of the same stuff. If I'm an extension of that stuff, whether it is the quantum field or, if I'm one with God, I have the same creative abilities. Desires are not accidental. I don't believe that for a minute. They are placed there for a reason. I don't believe in accidents. I don't believe in coincidences. God always says yes. The universe has your back. Your job is to figure out the how. Because it is impossible to know the how if you haven't decided what. If you're not operating from a clear signal. Your job is to decide what you want and become the woman who gets to fucking have it. The universe handles the rest every single time. Every single time, without fail. This work is simple. I have said that from the beginning. Know who you are and think from that space. That is quite literally the crux of every single thing I teach. But I do understand that it is not easy, because you have decades of stories and programming and conditioning and evidence that you bring into every single conversation that you have, every single decision that you make, every single moment where you're trying to choose between who you have been and who you are becoming. That is why the identity reset exists. That is why I do this work. I'm not here to give you a new plan. I'm not here to give you a new strategy. I'm here to help you get clear on who you actually are, so that everything else, the money, the relationships, the work, the life, can be built from that place instead of from the performing version of you, the outdated version of you, that old operating system that has been running the show. You fucking get to have it all. The relationship, the money, the work that lights you up, the time with people you love, the adventure, the joy, all of it at the same motherfucking time. That is not naive. That is not a lie. That is what happens when you remember who the fuck you are. This particular series around identity, it's coming to a close this week. I'm never going to stop talking about it. And if you've been listening, and this is the 5th episode that you've listening to, and something says yes, keep saying yes, that's not coincidence. That's the part of you that already knows. That is your soul, your higher power, the one that hangs out with that other big thing you believe in. The Identity Reset, it's a private intensive for high-achieving women who are ready to start building their own dream lives, not somebody else's. I'm going to give you my teaching on identity. I'm going to give you a workbook full of reflection, and then we're going to spend 60 minutes with me one-on-one. There's a link in the show notes. It's on every social media platform. You can DM me. And if you want to go deeper after that, the Identity Shift program is how we take that further. If you wonder if there's a next step, but start here. Start with the reset. Start with getting really fucking clear. If there is static in your signal, you know it. Your sharpness is not the problem. It never was. Your misidentification is. You're operating from the old operating system, and that is something that is actually fixable. Thank you for being here for this series. I will see you next week. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Uncensored Self podcast. If this conversation cracked something open for you, trust that. That's the work. And share this episode with a woman in your life who's ready to stop performing and start creating. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave a review. It helps this message reach the women who need it most. Remember, you're the creator. The rules are yours. And your uncensored self, she already knows what to do. Keep leading, keep listening, keep becoming.